every rule of backgammon, one by one, with nothing left out. If you already watched the basics, this is everything that video had no room for. Who starts when you cannot move at all, and what happens if you get hit while bearing off. Each section takes a single rule and also explains why that rule exists, because a rule you memorize is forgotten and a rule you understand stays. First, learn to read the board, because every rule talks in point numbers. There are 24 points, and each point is a sharp triangle. The numbers are from your point of view. The deepest point in your home is number 1, and the farthest corner is number 24. For your opponent, the numbers run the other way because they too are going home. Their number 1 is your number 24. Once that sits in your head, reading the dice gets easy. When you roll a 4, that checker moves 4 points closer to home. The pip count at the top of the screen adds this up, how many points all of your checkers still need to travel. When the count drops, you are getting closer. Compare it with theirs and you see in one glance whether you are ahead or behind. Who starts the game? Both sides roll a single die, and the higher roll goes first. If they tie, both roll again. That is all. One more thing worth knowing: Turkish and Western backgammon split at the opening. This app plays the Turkish way. If you prefer the Western style, you can switch it in settings. What sets backgammon apart from other board games is that both players travel the same board in opposite directions. You move your checkers toward your own home, they move toward theirs, and those two homes sit in opposite quarters of the board. Your checkers count down in point numbers. Theirs count up. Why does that matter? Because you share one path. The same point can be progress for you and a setback for them. That is why this is not two separate races, but one road pulled both ways. If you only watch your own speed and ignore where their checkers sit, you will give them a shot without noticing. The first gap between a new player and an experienced one is right here. One looks at their own checkers, the other looks at the whole board. When you roll, 2 numbers come up, and those 2 numbers are not one move. They are 2 separate moves, and that split changes everything. Say you roll 5 and 3. You can move one checker 5 points and another checker 3. Or you can move the same checker 5 and then 3, 8 points in total. Which you pick is yours, and that choice is the real decision of the game. Playing 2 different checkers spreads the risk, but can leave 2 new blots. Sending one checker far can put it in safety, but leaves the rest alone. The dice tell you how far, not where. In backgammon, luck is in the roll. Skill is in this choice. When you play the same checker with both dice, there is a rule that is very easy to miss. The checker does not jump 8 points in one hop. It lands on the point shown by the first die, then continues from there by the second. So with 5 and 3 toward 8, the 5th point in between also has to be open for you. If that point is closed by 2 of their checkers, you cannot make that combined move, even if the 8th point is empty. The nice part is you choose the order. Play 3 first, then 5, and you may pass through a different gap. This is the confusion beginners hit most often. The app highlights the points you can reach, so you will not get stuck on screen, but at a real board you need to know this. In backgammon, you do not pick which die to keep. If you can play both, you must play both. You have no right to skip one because it does not suit you. Why does this rule exist? Without it, the player who is ahead would ignore half the rolls, sit still, and the game would jam. The duty forces everyone forward. The result sometimes hurts. You have to break a nice structure, and you leave a blot you did not want to leave. That is a forced move, and it is one of the most annoying moments in the game. If there is no way to play both, you play the one you can, and the other is burned. Sometimes you cannot move at all. If every point the dice show is closed, your hands are tied, and the turn passes straight to them. This is not a penalty, it is a normal result of the game. It means they closed you out well. And it shows how one of the strongest tools in backgammon works. Closing someone off is making them miss turns. You move while they stand still. Especially with a checker on the bar and their home closed, you can skip several turns in a row, and the game can break open at once. That is why backgammon is not only running fast, holding the right points also wins. If they have 2 or more checkers on a point, that point is closed and you cannot land there. You can jump over it, but you cannot stop. This rule is the base of all backgammon strategy because closing a point cuts the places they can go. Closing one point is a small nuisance. Closing 4 or 5 in a row makes their dice useless. If you close 6 in a row, that is a prime, and a checker trapped behind it cannot get past. So 2 checkers side by side are not only safety, they are also an attack. Every pair protects you and also blocks them. A checker left alone on a point is a blot. A blot is not safe. If they can land on that point, that checker is hit. So, why does anyone leave blots at all? Because you cannot avoid it. The dice will not always give you numbers that pair your checkers, and you still have to move. The point is not never leaving a blot. It is leaving one in the right place. A blot far from them is low risk because hitting it takes a large and specific roll. A blot deep in your own home is high risk. It is easy to hit, and when it is hit, the distance you lose is huge. The most expensive beginner habit is spreading checkers one by one with no sense of that risk. When you land on a point that holds their blot, that checker is hit and goes to the bar in the middle of the board. Hitting is the harshest move in backgammon because the damage is not 1 point. The hit checker loses all the ground it had covered and starts over. If you hit a checker that had already come 20 points and was 2 points from home, that checker has to travel those 20 points again. One roll can turn the whole game around. That is why when you are behind, hope is hitting. If you are losing the race, trying to wait and hit is often the only realistic plan, instead of only tucking your own checkers away. While you have a checker on the bar, you cannot make any other move. However good the rest of the board looks, you must first put that checker back in play. Why is this rule so strict? Because it is what makes being hit actually costly. A hit does not only send a checker back, it stops you completely. Every turn you fail to enter, they move freely, close points, and bear off. The game goes on without you while you wait off the board. The result is this: the more closed their home is, the more dangerous a hit becomes. If they have closed 4 points in their home, your chance to enter drops each turn, and you can wait several turns in a row. The checker on the bar enters their home, and the dice say which point. If you roll a 3, you enter on the 3 point of their home. If you roll a 5, you enter on the 5. Here the die is not a distance, it is an address. If that point is closed by 2 of their checkers, you cannot enter with that die. If both dice show closed points, you cannot enter at all, and the turn is wasted. If 2 of your checkers were hit, you must enter both, and you cannot move anything else until the bar is empty. So the number of open points in their home is exactly your chance to get back in the game. That is why good players, after a hit, first try to close their own home. If both dice show the same number, that is a double, and you get 4 moves. If you roll double 5, you play a 5 not twice, but 4 times. You can use them on the same checker in a row, or on 4 different checkers, or mix the 2. Why is a double so valuable? An average roll carries about 8 pips, while double 5 carries 20. It is like playing 2 turns at once. 6 of the 36 outcomes are doubles, so you expect 1 about every 6 rolls. The result is this: a game that looks hopeless can turn on a single double, but the same double in their hands can also break a structure you thought was solid. In backgammon, no lead is certain. Taking checkers off the board is bearing off, and that stage starts only when all 15 of your checkers are in your own home. If even 1 checker is still outside, you cannot take any off. You must bring that 1 home first. Why this condition? Without it, a player would rush the front checkers off and ignore the 1 left behind, but the real tension is that last checker. The rule forces everyone to gather the whole army and keeps the game balanced to the end. The result is one of the most frustrating moments in backgammon. 14 checkers wait ready in home while 1 is still far away, and you wait for the dice to bring it in. The pip count helps you guess how long that wait will be. Once bearing off has started, the die is no longer a distance, it is a point number. If you roll a 4, you take a checker off the 4 point. If you roll a 5, you take 1 off the 5. The match is exact. You cannot spend extra or less on purpose. That is why this stage is not as mechanical as it looks. How you spread checkers as you bring them home decides which rolls will help you later. Pile them on 1 or 2 points and big numbers go to waste. Spread them and almost every roll takes a checker off. An experienced player thinks about bearing off while still coming home. A beginner stuffs checkers into home and then wonders why the dice do not fit. What if the point the die shows is empty? There are 2 cases and the order matters. First, if you still have checkers farther away on higher numbered points you cannot bear off with that die, you use it to move those farther checkers forward. Second, if nothing is left farther out, you bear off from the highest point you still hold. Example, you roll a 6, the 6 point is empty, and your farthest checker is on the 4, then you take the checker off the 4. Why this rule? So a high number is not wasted. Without it, big dice would be useless at the end and bearing off would drag on. Result, in the last stage, high numbers still count. None of them disappear. You can still be hit while bearing off, and this is the most painful moment in backgammon. If a checker they left behind passes through your home and you leave a blot, they can hit it. The hit checker goes to the bar, and remember the bearing off condition. You cannot take any checker off until all of them are in home. So even if you had already borne off 14, that one hit sends you back to the start. Bearing off stops until that checker crosses the whole board and comes home again. That is why you still play carefully when you are very close to winning. If they still have a checker in your home or on the path through it, coming off without leaving a blot is better than coming off fast. A surprising share of lost games is lost right here. The first player to bear off all 15 wins the game. But winning has a scale. If they have borne off at least 1 checker, it is a normal win, and you score 1 point. If they have not borne off a single checker, that is a gammon, and it is worth 2 points. So it is not only winning that matters, it is by how much. Finishing before they take even 1 checker off doubles your score. A match is played to 5 points, so 1 match lasts several games, and a single bad game does not lose the match. The score sits at the top of the screen. You see how many points you have and how many you still need. That also tells you that if you lose 1 game, you still have a way back. Last, something that is not on a real board but helps a lot while you learn. A move does not lock in at once. After you play a checker, you can undo until you confirm the turn. So you can try the dice in different ways and see with your eyes which looks better. Why does that matter? The hard part of learning backgammon is imagining the result of a move before you make it. Undo lets you test that picture on the real board. After a few games, you need it less because you can see the position in your head. When you tap a checker, the points it can reach are also marked. You can see legal moves without knowing the rules, but once you know the rules, you understand why that point is the one. That is the full set of rules. Everything else is practice. And practice needs a place where nobody is watching you. BlueTavla works offline, asks for no account, has 3 difficulty levels, and you can undo your move. Free on Android and iOS.